Good evening. Welcome back to my late night spook show here on the Horror Metal channel. I'm Hellhound, and I figured we'd do a quick tag video tonight. This is going to be the Three from the Grave tag, created by Movie Massacre, Random Ross, and Macobsten Productions. Now I'm titling the video the Another Three from the Grave tag, because they actually made another tag video a few years ago, which is also called Three from the Grave tag. So just so I don't have two of the same title on my channel, I'm calling this one Another Three from the Grave tag. And I think the other one they did a couple years ago was when Lisa Loves was in the group. I think it was her, Movie Massacre, and Strange Monkey, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, anyway, this one was Movie Massacre, Random Ross, and Macobsten Productions. So check out their channel, Three from the Grave, for sure. Check out their original video, their tag video, subscribe, all that. And in their tag video, they said they're tagging everyone. So a lot of my YouTuber friends have already made one. I know Sean Urshan did not too long ago, so check out his video as well. It's really good. This is going to be my response, so yeah, they left it open. They said anybody who wants to participate can feel free to make a response, so that's what I'm doing. There's 5 questions. Let's go and get started. Alright, so the first question is, a film you would recommend to somebody just getting into horror movies. Now, see, that's hard because, there's so many you can choose from, and it kind of depends on what they already like. If it's, one of the first movies that they're ever seeing, it depends on, what kind of movie they're looking for, what their background is. Do they like comedies? Should they start with a horror comedy and kind of ease their way into the more serious, straightforward horror stuff? Or, they like more classic horror, more modern horror? What type of, it really depends on the type of person. So yeah, there's a lot I could choose from. I think I'm going to go with the original Frankenstein from 1931, the Universal classic with Boris Karloff and Colin Clive, directed by James Whale, because that was one of the very first horror movies I ever saw, and I was immediately hooked. I know some people these days are turned off by black and white movies, which is weird to me, because I grew up watching black and white movies, so I guess it never bothered me at all. Still doesn't, of course, for obvious reasons, and I don't see why it would, but yeah, I know some people turn off by black and white, so maybe I could have picked something a little more recent and in color, but to me, at least, I was hooked. I'd already seen other horror movies by then, but I think that was kind of the one that was one of the ones, anyway, one of the many horror films that really made me want to become a diehard fanatic, and the rest is history, so yeah, there's a lot of choices you could go with, but I'll go with Frankenstein, because it was one of my early movies that got me into horror. And hopefully do the same for somebody else. Alright, so question number 2 is guilty pleasure horror movies that nobody would believe you love. Oh man, I'm a sucker for bad movies, movies that are enjoyably bad, so bad they're good, there's so many to choose from. The Leprechaun series, the Ghoulies series, Dollman vs. Demonic Toys, Class of Nukem High, so many. But I guess I'll go with Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, which I think is the ultimate guilty pleasure movie, because it's so freaking bad that it's hilarious. It's very enjoyable to watch, and how bad it is. It's just really fun and entertaining, because it's just so stupid. The acting's over the top. The first movie was a little cheesy. It had some bad acting, but this one just, takes it to another level. The first movie was at least pretty serious and straightforward, with kind of a tragic story as well. The second one, totally comedy. It's totally played for laughs. And most people say Troll 2 is the ultimate, so bad it's good horror film, but I'd go Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. And a lot of people are surprised that I love that one. But, it's for all the right reasons. It's obviously not a well-made, well-directed, well-acted masterpiece. It's just a good movie to really laugh at and have a good time. Eric Freeman is just a riot. But yeah. Alright, so number 3, favorite underrated supporting actor that people should look for on the next watch of a film. There's a lot of ones you could go with. I really like Sean Urshan's answer, and I like the answer that they gave in the original Three from the Tag video. But I'm going to go with Clu Gulager, because he's no stranger to the horror genre. He's been in a lot of horror movies, and he's always one of the best parts of all these movies, and he's usually, more often than not, he's usually not really one of the main characters. Sometimes he has a much bigger role than others, but a lot of times he's just kind of a supporting character. But of course my favorite role of his is Return of the Living Dead, which is one of my favorite movies. That's my favorite movie that Clu Gulager was ever in. There's also Nightmare on Elm Street 2, of course, The Initiation, The Hidden, From a Whisper to a Scream, which is a pretty good anthology. What else? The Willies, another good, pretty good anthology. One of the stories is really good, and he was in that. I think he was also in Puppet Master 5 briefly. He had kind of a brief role, and he was in Feast, which is kind of a more recent one. But yeah, I always enjoyed Clu Gulager. In Return of the Living Dead, especially, like I said, he was even cooler than the young characters, the punk rockers. He was one of the older men, along with Don Calfa and James Carrington, and they all three of them, James Karen, sorry, I got tongue tied. All three of them were cooler than the young guys. So Clu Gulager was just very enjoyable to watch. He's awesome. He makes everything good. All right, so number 4 is horror films you loved when you were younger and now you think they suck. All right, so there's a lot of horror movies where the opposite is true, movies I used to hate but now I love, like Friday the 13th Part 5, Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X. All my examples are a Jason movie, I guess. I know there's more than that. But there's a lot of horror movies that I didn't like when I first saw them, and they grew on me over the years. There's not very many that once I love a film, I usually love it for life. Sometimes there's a movie I'll watch that's not as good as I remember. Like, I watched Cemetery Man recently, and it wasn't bad. It was really funny, but it was a lot weirder and more out there than I remember. And I didn't remember the ending from the first time I watched it, which didn't make any sense at all. Again, not a bad movie, but it wasn't quite as good as I remember. I remember it just being a masterpiece that blew me away. Then I watched it recently. I was like, it's good, but it's not great like I thought. I still enjoy it a lot. I'm going to have to watch it yet again. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't really in the right mood or something. But I love horror comedies. But anyway, I'm going to go with The Video Dead. Now, I'm kind of cheating on this one because I never really loved the movie, and nor do I think it sucks now. It's just when I first watched it, was years ago, long time ago. I remember very fondly. I remember enjoying it a lot. Years later, I bought the Blu-ray double feature with that has The Video Dead and Terror Vision, and I also have it on VHS. The Video Dead, which is a very rare, very obscure, sought-after collector's item, which I'm very glad to have because it's really expensive and valuable now. Don't tell anybody I have it. But yeah, I watched it again. I was like, I love B movies. I love movies with a low budget, but this one, it was a little too low budget. It could have benefited from a better budget. I was kind of expecting something really fun and really 80s, like Return of the Living Dead or Night of the Creeps or, a Reanimator or House. But what I got instead, it feels very cheaply made. It feels like something me and my friends could have filmed with a video camera, and then we could have just ran in the woods and went to some abandoned house and filmed it ourselves. It's very, very amateur. I still respect it. It's not. They did very good with what little they had to work with. But it doesn't have that fun, enjoyable 80s feel, It's still cheesy with bad acting, of course, but it's, I don't know. I was just expecting something way better. I was expecting kind of a cult classic, and what I got was kind of not on the level of what I remember anyway. Again, I don't think it sucks, and I didn't even really love it when I first saw it, but it just wasn't nearly as good as I remember. It was kind of a letdown. But I'd still recommend it overall. It's good enough, I guess. But I'm a sucker for those type of movies, like I said, so... Alright, so question number 5, the final question. Name a horror movie you would change the ending to, and why? That's going to be an obvious choice. I already mentioned this movie earlier in this video. That's going to be Return of the Living Dead. One of my favorite movies ever, and I have nothing bad to say about it whatsoever except the ending. Now, some people love the ending. It's really shocking and really chaotic, of course. It's kind of a surprise ending. You don't see it coming. But, and I'm not even saying the ending itself is bad, it's the way it's done, okay? So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie. Okay, so the movie's about, zombies attacking a town and a group of people who are in a medical supply warehouse and the crematorium, across the mortuary across across from the supply home. And the whole town is pretty much being attacked by these carnivorous, awesome-looking zombies that are really hard to kill. And so they phone the government, I guess the army, and they drop a bomb on the city, which, okay, yeah, it destroys the zombies, supposedly, but it just feels really rushed, and it's done in a very abrupt way. They don't put a lot into it. It's like they couldn't think of an ending, and they're like, oh man, we gotta wrap this up, and we gotta think of a way to kill all the zombies. Like, oh, we kind of ran out of our budget. Oh, just say that we threw a bomb on the town, and that's the end. And then that's what happens. It's a stock footage of an explosion, which looks really kind of crappy, and then everything after that is just a brief clip from the movie that we already saw. So it's like they couldn't even afford to shoot new footage, I want to see what happens after that. Don Calfa wanted to make a follow-up called Revenge of the Living Dead, where the bomb misses the town, and and we actually see, you know, the characters after that. They survived, and we actually see what happens after, which would have been awesome. But yeah, it just feels so lazy and tacked on. It just happens so fast. It's a rushed, abrupt finale with little to no thought put into it. You know, it is shocking. It is memorable. I'm not saying it's not. It just, the way it's done just feels kind of half-assed and just too, like, too quick. And it's just like, man, that's kind of a letdown. It was just an awesome movie up to that point, you know. Hell, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, which is a much inferior movie, not nearly as good as the first one, had a more fleshed out and definitive ending, I thought. It's kind of stupid that they killed with electricity, but at least it felt more like a proper climax, a proper way to, you know, defeat the zombies, carnivorous walking corpses, you know, instead of just, oh, we just drop a bomb on the city, and the end, it's done, the zombies are gone. And it's cool that it said it was raining again, and it was, you know, raining in the cemetery, like it's like more zombies are going to rise and maybe even take over the world. Maybe it'll become a post-apocalyptic dystopian wasteland where you see it in so many other zombie movies. But, you know, it sets up that kind of scenario, which is interesting, but it's just done in a very, I don't know, very poorly edited way, I think. But this doesn't really take away anything from the movie. I still love it. It's still one of my favorites. I still consider it a flawless masterpiece of non-stop amusement, you know. But anyway, alright, so, alright guys, those are my answers. Do you agree, disagree? Leave your answers in the comments below, or better yet, feel free to make your own video. Just check out the original Three from the Grave tag on their channel, Three from the Grave. Check out Sean Urshan's video, and anybody else who's done it that you're a fan of. And I'm Hellhound. Thank you for watching my late night spook show. Until next time, later.